All men makes you angrier than knowing that 1 in 9 American men has openly admitted to sexually abusing a child.
Okay, first falsehood. I tried to find this information. It exists absolutely nowhere. Okay? Self-reported. Just think about what she said. How idiotic do you have to be to think that there's gonna be a study that shows a self-report that's one of the most degenerate evil acts that you can commit as a human being? However, you have to be another level of stupid to confess of doing that sort of an act.
You are a dangerous man. If hearing the words all men makes you angrier than knowing that every 11 minutes a woman is killed around the world by a man, you are a dangerous man.
So I looked up the study. It came out of UN, a purposely selected study that showed women who are ended by male family members. However, the only statistics that are confined in reverse was one man is killed every 16 minutes, and that's not by a spouse. There's no such stat that congregates all of the available information across the world, like the study that was done by the UN, looked at the men who are ended by a woman, female family member, or a spouse. There's no such thing. Isn't it funny how women can exude the exact same egregious behavior, but because it's all done in the shadows, they can come up on the internet and claim all men, but not all men? Isn't that convenient, huh?
Man. If all men makes you angrier than knowing that child marriage is still legal in 36 states in the US, you are a dangerous man. If all men...
When she's talking about child marriage, it's that some states in America have like an age limit of 16, but there are prerequisites for them to get married, as in the parents have to give consent, and there's some other bunch of nonsense. I can agree. The limit should be at 18, no questions asked. However, the people who engage in child marriage, it's not people that hold Western values, okay? Those are the people who are importing their values into Western countries.
Men makes you angrier than knowing that over 300,000 marriage licenses were approved in the last 20 years for children as young as 9 years old to be married to adult men. You are a dangerous...
There are no states that allow 9 years old, okay? There are no states that allow that. None.
Man. If the only time you step up to advocate for other men is when you hear the words all men, your advocacy is false and it is based in hating women. Because here's the thing, safe men, good men, when they hear the words all men, they know it's not talking about them.
Have you ever seen the podcast, for example, Whatever or Fresh and Fit? Every single time you make a general statement, they always internalize it. She wants to talk about... Bro, when feminists say all men, we know exactly what she means. That means majority of men. She's claiming that majority of men are engaging in this degenerate behavior, which there are no stats to show that. Majority of men are not criminals. They're not behaving in this degenerate behavior, that they are simple dudes who are trying to live their lives. Then you get a bunch of bummercluts like this one that come in and say, all men. That would imply that there's a vast majority of men that are engaging in this sort of a behavior. It's not the vast majority. It's a small minority. When you say all men, that implies it's the majority, which it's not.
And they're at the front lines, standing with women, trying to make the world safer. Safe men are not offended by all men because they understand how dangerous this world is for women.
Again, another aspect of feminism is thinking that they are owed safety. They think that if there's no men, safety would be just the norm. Like, bro, people can't... These sorts of bummercluts have never thought about human history in totality. Bro, 500 years ago, if she would say that sort of a thing, she would be been eliminated by natural selection. They do not have the mental capacity to look at human history in totality. What they do, they read a bunch of feminist books. Again, through the lens of feminism, men are these evil creatures that oppress women. You know, they have standards upon women. But they forget to say that women have standards on men and men have standards for other men how to behave, and they hold each other accountable. Majority of the time, of course, there's outliers. They don't want to acknowledge none of that. They just want to simply come out and say that women are oppressed. Women are these wonderful butterflies that they don't commit these crimes at a lower, the same, or even sometimes higher rates. And a perfect example of that higher rate would be a study that was done with women prison guards. Women prison guards abuse inmates at a higher rate than male prison guards do. Why? Whenever a woman is placed in a position of authority over a group of people where she has the physical superiority, as in children or elderly, they abuse them at a higher rate than men in general population abuse. They don't want to acknowledge that, do they?
Patriarchy exists to rig natural evolution such that the weakest and cruelest men can still pass on their genetic characteristics. And I have a lot to say about this, so bear with me because I brought notes. And again, this is a well-supported theory in evolutionary science. So we know that in nature, female selection, especially in social mammal groups, drives the evolution of the species. Females are the gatekeepers of reproduction, and this is true in humans as well when you remove the existence of patriarchy. Females select for mates based on health, stability, access to resources, and social standing. And this filters out unfit males and encourages the evolution of the species towards strength, cooperation, and stability. So patriarchy evolved as a workaround. It emerged when men could no longer guarantee that they could pass on their genes. So they created a system to remove choice from the females. Instead of becoming better potential partners, they created institutions to force access to reproduction. Patriarchy is the furthest thing from natural. Then religion and law codified this system. So think virginity, purity, culture, and
this is a perfect representation of how low of an IQ individual she is. Patriarchy is a system where men are put in the positions of authority. They are responsible for governing and controlling the society in general. There were patriarchal systems that were polygamous. Guess what happened to them? They stagnate. Because why would the men in a polygamous society, by the way, her even statement that men are just need to be, it's so stupid because the goalpost then shifts. It doesn't matter if majority of men improve. That just means it becomes common, which means that women will still select for the 20%. Again, a low IQ individual can't think past her goddamn nose. Second of all, religion came into play. That's why monogamy was introduced. And when religion came into play, monogamy stabilized societies, and that's why you have modern societies in which this idiot does not have to worry about where she's gonna get her food from. Can you see how privileged these brats are that they can't even understand how tough life was for a majority of human history? Just to give you an example, for the majority of human history, war and conflict was the norm. This is an unprecedented time in human history where the general norm is peace.
Marriage, this strips away female autonomy. Then religious doctrine makes this obedience holy, and it makes female pleasure sinful. And then legal systems were created to punish adultery, criminalize it, and punish women who are and then trap them in marriage. Because think about who really benefits from a system that operates like this. It's only the males who are emotionally unavailable, who are violent, who are narcissistic, who are entitled and insecure, who would not survive the natural selection process. So instead of adapting, these men just weaponized control. Patriarchy limits human flourishing. It literally dooms our species. When women can't choose their partners freely, and by free,
patriarchy didn't create monogamy. Religion came into play and introduced monogamy, because that stabilized societies. What an idiot, man.
Freely, I mean free of a patriarchal system in which we were all raised. Entire populations ultimately suffer. And this is well backed by data, so I'm going to look at it. In communities where women do not get to choose their partners freely, there are higher rates of abuse, trauma, and mental illness, lower emotional intelligence in children, and societies that are built on dominance, not connection, which ultimately falter and fail. And if you want me to do a video specifically talking
nose piercing, you know she's gotta be dumb as hell. Anyway, if you guys liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time.